In the year 2147, humans had spread out across many star systems. They built colonies, traded goods, and made friends with some alien races. Earth was no longer alone. It belonged to something bigger called the Galactic Concord. This group had many species. The two strongest were the Vexari and the Krell. The Vexari were tall. Their bodies looked like clear crystal. Light passed through them and made rainbow colors on the walls. They spoke in calm, slow voices. They thought they were the oldest and wisest in the galaxy. The Krell were different. They looked like giant insects with hard shells and many legs. They moved fast and worked in large groups, like a hive. Together, the Vexari and Krell led the Concord. They made the rules for everyone else. Humans were new to this group. They had only joined 20 years earlier. To the aliens, humans seemed strange. They lived short lives. They got angry quickly. They told stories about their old wars on Earth. The aliens did not like these stories. They called humans the noisy ones from the small yellow star. Most of the time, things stayed peaceful. Humans traded food, metals, and machines. In return, they got alien medicines, fast engines, and knowledge about distant worlds. But peace can hide small cracks. Those cracks grew bigger over time. One day, a big meeting happened on Ilara Prime. This planet was neutral ground. No one owned it. Tall white towers stood on green hills. Ships from every species landed there. The meeting was about trade rules and new borders. The human team came from Earth. Captain John Harlan led them. He was 42 years old, tall with short brown hair and calm blue eyes. He had flown ships for 20 years. People trusted him because he never lost his temper in a fight. With him were Governor Laura Bennett from the colony of New Haven, and engineer Kevin Morales, a young man who knew how to fix anything. They sat at a round table made of smooth black stone. Around them were Vexari in flowing robes, and Krell clicking their claws on the floor. The main speaker was a Vexari named Zorath. He stood higher than anyone else. His crystal skin glowed soft blue. Zorath looked down at the humans. "We welcome the new members from Sol," he said in his slow voice. "You bring energy. You bring noise. But noise can be useful, like the buzzing of small insects before the storm comes." Some aliens laughed quietly. John Harlan did not smile. He waited. Zorath continued. "Your bodies are soft. Your lives are short. You fight among yourselves. How can such fragile creatures help the Concord? Perhaps you should stay quiet and learn from your elders." Laura Bennett leaned forward. "We learn fast," she said. "And we do not stay quiet when someone insults us." Zorath turned his head. Light flashed inside his crystal chest. "Insult? No, I speak truth. Your history is full of destruction. You burned your own world once. You may do it again. We watch you with care like parents watch wild children." The room became quiet. Kevin Morales gripped the edge of the table. His knuckles turned white. John Harlan stood up slowly. "We came here to talk about trade, not to be lectured. If you have no respect for us, then maybe trade should stop." Zorath made a sound like breaking glass. It was his version of laughter. "Stop trade? You need our shields. You need our weapons. Without us, your little ships would break apart in the first real storm." John looked straight at him. "We have our own ships. We have our own ways. Do not test us." The meeting ended soon after that. Outside, under the purple sky of Ilara Prime, Laura spoke quietly to John. "They think we're weak." "They always have," John answered. "But they will learn." 3 weeks later, trouble came. A human freighter named Dawn Star flew near the Krell border. It carried food and medical supplies for a small colony. The ship was old, but clean. Captain Brian Carter stood on the bridge. He was a quiet man who liked coffee and fixing engines. A Krell warship appeared without warning. It sent a message. "You crossed our space without papers. Stop your ship." Brian checked his charts. We are on the agreed trade lane. Our papers are current. The Krell did not listen. They sent boarding pods. 10 Krell soldiers in black armor landed on the freighter. They carried long energy spears. The human crew tried to stay calm. They opened the airlock. The Krell commander stepped inside. His voice came through a translator box. You broke the law. Punishment is death for 2 crew members. Choose who dies. Brian stepped forward. No one dies. We talk first. The Krell raised his spear. No talk. Law is law. Before anyone could move, the spear flashed. 2 human workers, Mark Evans and Lisa Grant, fell to the floor. They were dead in seconds. The rest of the crew stood frozen. The Krell left without another word. They took nothing. They just wanted to show power. The news reached Earth fast. People watched the video feed in shock. Families cried. Leaders met in closed rooms. Admiral Megan Hayes, head of the fleet, looked at the images on her screen. Her face was hard. They killed our people for nothing, she said. We will not forget. Earth sent one message to the Galactic Concord. It was short and clear. Return the bodies of our dead. Give a full apology. Punish the ones who did this. Do it in 10 days. If not, we will act. The aliens read the message. Zorath laughed again in the council hall. They threaten us? The soft ones from Sol? A Krell leader clicked his mandibles. Let them try. We have 300 ships ready. Their fleet is small. Their weapons are old. Another Vexari added, They will back down. They always do. The Concord did nothing. No apology came. No bodies were returned. 10 days passed. On the 11th day, John Harlan stood on the bridge of his ship, the cruiser Endurance. He looked at the stars outside the window. They chose this, he said quietly. Laura Bennett stood beside him. What now? John turned to his crew. Send the signal to the fleet. Tell them to prepare. We are going to answer. Far away, in hidden shipyards around distant moons, lights turned on, engines hummed, weapons moved into place. Humans had waited many years for this moment. They had built in silence. They had planned in secret. They knew the aliens saw them as weak. That was their mistake. The stars had been loud for a long time with alien voices and alien ships. Soon, they would grow quiet. Very quiet. The Concord did not wait long to show their power. They wanted to teach the humans a quick lesson. On the 12th day after the message from Earth, a large fleet left their bases. 230 ships moved toward the human border. At the front were the big Vexari cruisers with glowing crystal hulls. Behind them came the Krell carriers full of small attack craft. They aimed for New Haven, the closest human colony to their space. New Haven had 3 million people living on green plains and in small cities. It was a peaceful place with farms and schools. The Concord planned to take it in one day. Governor Laura Bennett stood in the command center under the main city dome. She was 40 years old, with short dark hair and steady brown eyes. She had led New Haven for 8 years. Now she looked at the screens that showed the approaching fleet. Red dots filled the display. How long until they reach orbit? She asked. 4 hours, answered her aide. Our defense platforms are ready, but we have only 12 of them. Laura nodded. Evacuate the children and the old first. Send them to the underground shelters. Everyone else, get to your posts. She turned on the colony-wide speaker. People of New Haven, the aliens are coming. They want to punish us. We will not give up. Fight if you can, hide if you must, but remember who we are. We are human. We do not break easy. Down on the surface, families ran to bunkers. Farmers grabbed rifles from storage. Young people climbed into old mining trucks turned into armored vehicles. In the sky, 20 small fighters lifted off. Kevin Morales flew the lead one. He was 28, fast with his hands, and never afraid to take risks. His fighter was old, with patched metal and basic guns. but he knew every bolt on it. The alien fleet arrived. The first shots came from high orbit. Bright energy beams cut through the defense platforms like knives through paper. Metal exploded in silent fireballs. People on the ground felt the ground shake. Smoke rose into the blue sky. Laura watched from her command center. "Launch the missiles," she said. Nuclear missiles rose from hidden silos. They were not fancy, just fast and dirty. They flew straight at the big ships. The Aryans laughed at first. Their shields were strong, but the humans had changed the warheads. When the missiles hit, they did not explode right away. They stuck to the shields and released pulses that made the shields flicker. Then the second wave came. Smaller missiles packed with scrap metal. They tore through the weak spots. 3 Vexari cruisers lost power. Their lights went dark. Cheers came from the human fighters. Kevin led his squadron in close. "Stay tight," he called over the radio. "Hit their engines. Do not stop." The aliens sent their small craft to meet them. Hundreds of Krell drones swarmed out. They were fast and shot green bolts. Kevin rolled his fighter left, then right. A drone exploded behind him. He fired his cannons and took down 2 more, but his friends were dying. One by one, the old fighters burst into flames. Kevin saw a big Krell carrier turn its guns on the city below. "Not today," he whispered. He pushed his throttle all the way forward. His ship screamed toward the carrier. Alarms rang in his ears. He ignored them. At the last second, he aimed for the main hangar bay. His fighter hit at full speed. The impact tore a hole in the carrier. Fuel lines broke. Fire spread inside. The big ship tilted, then broke apart in a slow, bright explosion. The aliens pulled back a little. They had lost 5 ships already. They expected the humans to run or beg. Instead, the ground fight started. Krell drop pods fell like black rain. They landed in the fields outside the city. Soldiers climbed out, tall insects with sharp claws and energy spears. They marched forward in perfect lines. Humans waited in the hills and streets. They used traps, hidden pits with spikes, wires that pulled explosives. One group of farmers waited until the Krell were close, then set off buried charges. Dirt and metal flew. Many Krell died in the first blast. In the city, people fought from windows and rooftops. A woman named Emily Torres, a schoolteacher, held a rifle in her classroom. She shot at the aliens below. Her students hid under desks. "Stay down," she told them. "We will protect you." The Krell pushed hard. They burned buildings with their beams. Smoke filled the air, but every street they took cost them lives. Humans did not fight fair. They used the sewers to move behind lines. They threw homemade bombs. They rammed trucks into enemy groups. Laura stayed in the command center until the roof started to crack. "Fall back to the inner dome," she ordered. "We hold there." He had crashed after his run. He crawled from the wreck with a broken arm. He found a group of militia. They gave him a pistol. "Keep fighting," one said. The battle lasted 12 hours. The aliens took half the city, but they paid in blood. Their dead lay in piles. Their ships in orbit were fewer. The Vexari commander on the flagship sent a message to his leaders. "These humans do not fight like we thought. They are crazy. They die to hurt us." Back on Earth, Admiral Megan Hayes watched the live feed. Her hands were tight on the table. "They are holding," she said. "Now it is our turn." She gave the order. Hidden fleets moved from dark space. Ships that no one knew about. Ships built in secret yards behind gas giants. Ships with new engines that ran cold and quiet. Ships loaded with weapons the aliens had never seen. The Concorde fleet around New Haven started to leave. They had won the ground, but lost too much in space. They pulled their remaining ships back to regroup. Laura walked through the broken streets. Smoke still rose. People helped the wounded. Bodies lay covered with blankets. She looked up at the sky. The alien ships were gone for now. Kevin limped to her side. His face was black with soot. "We did it," he said, "for a little while." Laura put a hand on his shoulder. "This was just the start. They will come again, but next time, we go to them." Far away, the human fleets turned toward alien space. Engines hummed in silence. No bright flares, no loud signals, just shadows moving through the dark. The Concorde thought they had shown strength. They thought the humans would learn fear. Instead, they woke something older, something patient, something brutal. The stars had seen many wars, but this one would be different. Humans did not want to fight, but once it started, they would finish it. The Concorde pulled their ships back from New Haven. They left smoke and broken buildings behind. They thought they had won. They thought the humans would now hide and beg for peace. They were wrong. Deep in human space, far from any alien eyes, the real fleets waited. These ships had no bright lights or loud engines. They were painted black. Their hulls drank in radar and heat. They used special reactors that stayed cold. No glow, no trail. Humans called them whisper ships. The aliens had no name for them yet. Brian Carter stood in the engine room of the dreadnought Vanguard. He was 35, thin, with glasses and steady hands. He had spent 10 years building these quiet engines. Now he watched the power levels rise. The ship hummed so low, you felt it in your bones more than you heard it. "All systems green," he said into the intercom. "We are invisible." Captain John Harlan walked onto the bridge. "Target list confirmed?" he asked. "Yes, sir," answered the navigation officer. "First wave, Vexari shipyards at Core World 3. Second wave, Krell hive stations at the edge of their home cluster." John nodded. "Launch when ready. No signals, no warnings." The Vanguard and her sister ships slipped out of the dark. They moved slow at first, then faster. Faster than any alien ship could track. They crossed light years and hours. The aliens never saw them coming. At Core World 3, the Vexari built their biggest warships. Giant rings of crystal floated in space. Inside the rings, new cruisers grew like crystals in a cave. Workers moved in zero gravity. They sang soft songs through their translators. They felt safe. No one had ever attacked here. The Concorde ruled this part of the galaxy for centuries. Then the humans arrived. No flash, no boom, just shadows against the stars. The first kinetic rods fell from the Vanguard. Long spears of dense metal. They moved at a fraction of light speed. No explosives, just pure force. One rod hit the main ring. Crystal shattered like glass under a hammer. Sparks flew in every direction. The ring twisted and broke. Pieces spun away. Smaller rods followed. They punched through construction yards. Ships half-built exploded in silence. Fuel tanks ruptured. Fire bloomed and died fast in the vacuum. Vexari alarms screamed too late. Their sensors had picked up nothing until impact. Commanders ran to escape pods. Many did not make it. In minutes, the proud shipyards became floating junk. Twisted metal. Broken dreams. Word spread slow at first, then fast. Alien channels filled with panic. Humans struck Core 3. Total loss. No survivors in command section. Next came the Krell hives. These were huge stations shaped like nests. Layers of hard shell. Inside, millions of Krell lived and worked. Queens gave orders. Warriors trained. They had thick armor and many guns. Brian Carter had studied Krell ships for years. He knew their weak points. The Whisper fleet came in close. They used small drones first. The drones looked like insects. They flew quiet. They landed on the hive shells. Then they drilled. Slow, silent. Acid ate through the armor. Holes opened. More drones went inside. Once inside, they found power lines. They cut them. Lights died. Air stopped moving. Krell panicked. They ran through dark tunnels. Warriors shot at shadows. But the drones kept coming. They carried tiny charges. They blew up reactors from the inside. One hive after another cracked open. Atmosphere vented. Bodies floated out, frozen. A Krell admiral sent a desperate message to the Concord Council. The humans are ghosts. They strike and vanish. We cannot see them. We cannot fight them. The council met in their grand hall on Nexus Prime. Zorath stood at the center. His crystal body flickered with fear for the first time. "This cannot be," he said. "They are primitives. How do they do this?" A Krell leader slammed his claw on the table. "You insulted them. You killed their people. Now they come for us all." Voices rose. Blame flew. Vexari said the Krell were too aggressive. Krell said the Vexari were too proud. Smaller species stayed quiet. They watched the leaders fight. While they argued, more human ships moved. They hit supply lines. Freighters carrying food and parts vanished. Alien colonies lost contact with home. Ships sent to look for them never came back. John Harlan led one group himself. The Endurance moved with the vanguard. They found a Vexari patrol of 10 cruisers. The aliens saw nothing on their screens. Then the Endurance appeared close. Too close. John gave the order, "Ram them." The Endurance accelerated. It hit the lead cruiser at high speed. No fancy weapons, just mass and velocity. The crystal hull cracked. The ship broke in half. The other cruisers fired wild. Their beams passed through empty space. The Whisper ships were already gone. Humans did not take prisoners in these early strikes. They did not board. They destroyed and left. Fast, clean, brutal. Kevin Morales had recovered from his wounds. He flew a new stealth fighter now. Small, fast, armed with missiles that locked on heat. He led attacks on Krell outposts. His squadron flew in low. They dropped bombs on landing pads. Ships exploded on the ground. Kevin watched the fire from his cockpit. "For Mark and Lisa," he whispered each time. Laura Bennett had left New Haven. She now worked on a command ship. She planned targets. She made sure no human world suffered while the fleet struck back. "Hit their pride," she told the captains. "Hit their yards. Hit their queens. Make them feel what we felt." The Concord tried to fight back. They sent large fleets to human borders, but the humans were not there. The fleets found empty space. Then, days later, alien homeworlds reported attacks. The humans moved like smoke. They were everywhere and nowhere. Panic grew. Alien traders stopped moving. Markets closed. Species that once stood together now looked at each other with doubt. "Did the Vexari start this?" one asked. "Did the Krell push too hard?" another said. Zorath tried to speak to Earth. He sent a message. "We wish to talk. Cease your attacks. We can find peace." Earth did not answer. In the engine room of the Vanguard, Brian Carter smiled for the first time in weeks. "They are afraid now," he said to a young technician. "Good. Let them feel it." The Whisper fleet kept moving. More yards burned. More hives cracked. The galaxy watched in silence as the old power fell apart. The stars had always been full of noise, alien boasts, fleet parades. Now the noise faded. One by one, the loud voices went quiet. The humans had only started. The Whisper fleet gathered at the edge of Concord space. Hundreds of human ships floated in the dark. No lights, no chatter on open channels. They waited like wolves around a wounded herd. Their target was Nexus Prime, the heart of the Galactic Concord. A beautiful world of shining towers and floating gardens. The Grand Council Hall stood at the center. There the alien leaders met to rule the galaxy. Now they hid inside it. Captain John Harlan stood on the bridge of the Vanguard. He studied the map. Red lines showed alien defenses, layers of shields, gun platforms, patrol ships. They know we are coming, he said. They have pulled everything here. Laura Bennett stood next to him. She had scars from New Haven still on her arms. Good. Let them wait. Fear will do half the work. Admiral Megan Hayes spoke from Earth over a tight beam. Her voice was hard. This ends today. Take the council. Take their leaders. No mercy for those who refuse. But spare the civilians if you can. We are not them. John nodded, even though she could not see it. Understood. We move in 1 hour. The attack started without warning. Human ships appeared all at once. They dropped out of silent jumps, close to the planet. Shields flared as alien guns opened fire. Bright beams lit the black of space. Human ships danced through the fire. They used speed and small size. They slipped past the big cruisers. Brian Carter worked fast in the engine room. Divert power to forward armor, he called. We are taking hits, but holding. The Vanguard pushed straight for the orbital ring around Nexus Prime. It was a massive circle of metal and crystal, home to thousands of ships and troops. Human fighters swarmed out like angry bees. Kevin Morales led one group. His new ship was fast and quiet. He flew low over the ring. His missiles hit gun towers. Explosions ripped open sections. Metal bent and tore. Alien pilots tried to fight back. Their craft were bright and fast. But humans flew dirty. They used the wreckage for cover. They flew between pieces of broken ships. Kevin rolled his fighter upside down. He fired at a Vexari interceptor. It exploded in a shower of crystal shards. Down on the surface, drop pods fell. Human Marines in heavy armor landed near the council hall. They moved quick. They carried rifles, grenades, and knives. They knew this would be close fighting. No fancy beams, just blood and steel. Nicole Rivera led the 1st Marine team. She was 31, short but strong. She had trained for this since she was young. Her squad ran through the streets. Alien guards tried to stop them. Krell warriors charged with spears. Nicole raised her rifle. Short bursts. 3 Krell fell. Her team pushed forward. Inside the hall, the council panicked. Zorath stood in the center chamber. His crystal skin flickered with many colors. Fear colors. We must surrender, one small species leader said. They will kill us all. Zorath turned. Never. We are the Concord. We do not bow to monkeys. Outside, the battle grew louder. Human Marines breached the outer walls. Explosives blew open doors. Smoke filled the halls. Vexari guards fired energy rifles. Humans answered with bullets and flashbangs. The aliens had strong armor, but humans aimed for joints and eyes. They used numbers. They pushed room by room. Nicole kicked open a side door. Her team followed. They found a long corridor. Krell warriors waited at the end. They formed a wall of claws and shells. Nicole threw a grenade. It rolled forward. The Krell tried to run. Too late. The blast threw them back. Her Marines charged through the gap. They shot the survivors. No prisoners yet. John Harlan landed with the second wave. He carried a pistol and a short sword. Old style, but useful when things got close. He led his group straight to the main chamber. They fought up wide stairs. Vexari nobles tried to block them with personal shields. John fired heavy rounds. The shields cracked. His men finished the job with knives. The grand doors to the council room stood tall. Gold and crystal. Humans pressed charges. A big boom. The doors flew inward. Smoke cleared. The council leaders stood in a circle. Guards around them. Zorath in front. John stepped inside. His Marines spread out. Guns pointed. Drop your weapons, he said in a calm voice. Krell guards hissed. Vexari raised their hands. Some cried. Zorath stood tall. You dare enter here? This is sacred ground. John looked at him. You made it a battlefield when you killed our people, when you laughed at our warnings. Zorath's voice shook. We can talk. We can give you territory. Resources. Name your price. John shook his head. Too late for that. All of you. A Krell guard lunged. Nicole shot him in the head. The body fell. The others froze. Zorath looked around. His guards were dead or broken. His crystal body dimmed. He knelt slowly. His head bowed. Mercy, he whispered. Please. John walked forward. He stood over the tall alien. You taught us a lesson once. You said we were weak, fragile. You said we would learn our place. He paused. Now you learn yours. He turned to his Marines. Secure them. Bind their hands. No harm unless they fight. The aliens were led out in lines, chains on wrists, heads down. Outside, the battle still raged in orbit. Human ships broke the last defenses. Alien cruisers burned. Escape pods launched in panic. Many were shot down. Others were allowed to flee. A message to the rest of the galaxy. Kevin Morales flew one last run. He saw the council hall below. Human flags rose on the towers. We did it, he said over the radio. Laura Bennett watched from her command ship. Tears in her eyes. Not from sadness, from relief. The heart is taken, she said. Now we finish it. Human teams moved through the city. They found military bases. They destroyed weapons. They took data cores. They left food and water for civilians. No mass killing, but no mercy for soldiers who fought. Zorath and the other leaders were put on a transport. They sat in silence. No more proud words. No more laughter. John stood on the bridge again. He looked at Nexus Prime. Fires burned in the night. Smoke rose high. The once bright world looked small now. Megan Hayes sent a final order. Dismantle their war machines. Leave their worlds intact. But make sure they never rebuild fleets like this again. The humans stayed only long enough. Then they left. Ships rose into space, silent again. The Concorde was broken. Not dead, but broken. Their pride gone. Their unity gone. John looked at the stars. It is over, he said quietly. Laura put a hand on his arm. For them, yes. For us, the silence begins. The reckoning was complete. The galaxy would remember. The council leaders of the Concorde sat in chains on board the human transport ship. Zorath no longer glowed bright. His crystal skin looked dull and cracked in places. The Krell queens huddled together, their shells scratched and dull. Smaller species stayed quiet, eyes wide with fear. They had ruled for centuries. Now they were cargo. John Harlan walked past their holding area. He did not speak to them. He did not need to. The message was clear in every step he took. Power had changed hands. The human fleet left Nexus Prime behind. They did not burn the cities. They did not kill the innocent. They took what they came for. The leaders, the weapon plans, the maps of old borders. Then they left. Alien worlds watched their ships rise and vanish into the dark. No cheers followed. Only quiet. Back on Earth, people waited. Families gathered in public squares. Screens showed live feeds from the fleet. When the word came, victory. Crowds stood silent at first. Then, soft cheers started. Not loud, not wild, just tired relief. Children asked why the adults cried. Parents held them close and said nothing. Admiral Megan Hayes addressed the world from a simple room. No flags, no bright lights. A war is over, she said. We did not want it. They forced it. We ended it. Our people can come home now. New rules went out across the stars. Simple rules. No more large fleets near human space. No more insults. No more taking human lives without answer. Trade could continue, but on equal terms, or not at all. Alien messages came in slowly. Some asked for peace talks. Some begged for mercy. Some said nothing. The humans answered only a few. Stay in your systems. the replies said. "We will stay in ours. Break this, and we come again." The old galactic concord fell apart fast. Species turned inward. Vexaris sealed their crystal worlds. Krell hives closed their doors. Smaller races found new hiding places. The Grand Council Hall on Nexus Prime stood empty. Dust gathered on the black stone table. No one came back to sit there. Years passed. The silence grew. Old trade lanes became quiet. Ships that once crossed paths now stayed home. Alien stations that used to buzz with voices went dark. No parades of warships, no boasts on open channels. The galaxy held its breath. On New Haven, Laura Bennett walked the rebuilt streets. New buildings rose where old ones burned. Children played in parks again. She stopped at a small monument. 2 names carved in stone: Mark Evans and Lisa Grant. She touched the letters. "We remember," she whispered. Kevin Morales flew cargo runs now. No more fighters. His arms still hurt on cold days. He looked out at the stars from his cockpit. They seemed farther away. Less crowded. He liked it that way. Brian Carter taught young engineers. He showed them the Whisper Drive plans. "We built this in secret," he said. "We hoped we never needed it. But when we did, it worked." The students listened. They knew the stories. They knew the cost. Nicole Rivera stayed in the fleet. She trained new Marines. "Fight smart," she told them. "Fight hard, but only when you must." She never forgot the council chamber. The way Zorath knelt. The way the galaxy changed in that moment. John Harlan retired to a small house by the sea on Earth. He planted trees. He read old books. Sometimes he walked the beach at night. He looked up at the sky. Fewer lights moved there now. No alien cruisers crossing the dark. No signals flashing back and forth. Just stars. Quiet stars. One evening, Laura came to visit. They sat on the porch. Waves rolled in soft. "Do you miss it?" she asked. "The fighting?" John said. "No." "The noise?" she asked. He thought for a moment. The old noise was loud, proud, empty. This silence, it feels honest. "They learned. They had to," he said. Far out in space, a young alien pilot on a small scout ship looked at his screens. He saw a human freighter in the distance. Old habit made him reach for weapons controls. Then he stopped. His commander's voice came over the radio. "Do not approach. Do not scan. Do not speak. Just watch, then leave." The pilot obeyed. He turned his ship away. The human ship never noticed him. It kept going on its quiet path. Stories spread in alien homes. Parents told children about the days before the silence. "The humans were small," they said. "They were new. We laughed at them. Then they stopped laughing back." Children asked questions. "Will they come again?" The parents looked at the dark windows. "Only if we make them." On Earth, people lived normal lives. They worked, they loved, they built. But under it all was something new, a quiet strength, a memory of what happens when patience runs out. The stars stayed silent. No more grand speeches from high towers. No more fleets marching in formation. No more voices claiming to own the galaxy. Humans did not build an empire. They did not take alien worlds. They simply made a line in space. Cross it with harm, and the answer would come fast and final. Time moved on. Generations grew up knowing only peace. Old soldiers grew gray. Young ones heard the tales like fairy stories. But the monuments stayed. The names stayed. The lessons stayed. One night, John Harlan stood on his porch again. The sky was clear. Stars shone cold and bright. He thought about the day it all started. The insult at the table. The deaths on the freighter. The laughter from crystal mouths. He breathed deep. The sea wind smelled clean. The galaxy had been loud once. Full of pride. Full of threats. Now it was quiet. It was earned. It was the sound of a lesson finally learned. John turned and went inside. He closed the door soft. Outside the stars watched. They said nothing. They never would again.